It's Mark in the minivan. We are talking Ozzy Osbourne today. My dog Pearl scratching her butt or doing something. I'm listening to a little Hong Kong sleepover. This is out now, guys. Butcher and Balt. It's good stuff. Thanks to Rob Dukes for turning me on to that. Just finished up a 2-mile walk. Got to go to work, actually. Yeah, but before I do, I got to go home and shower and go to work. But before I do, here's the deal, man. The Vinnie Vincent videos, listen, I'm sorry if I offended anybody with those. I'm just speaking my mind. That's what we do here on Mark in the Minivan or on these daily videos. They're not always in the minivan. But I just, it's diarrhea of the mouth, somebody said in the comments. And I totally embrace that comment, even though they meant it as a negative. And, yeah, man, Vinny. But, yeah, we're moving on. We're moving on. He's been rather silent, not much to talk about there. But Ozzy Osbourne, man, one of my favorite rock stars. Truly, I love the guy. I've been obsessed with him since I was a little kid. You know, probably about 12 years old, I guess. Anyways, he has mentioned about a week or two ago that he feels Bill Ward should have been part of the Black Sabbath final tour, The End. Now, here's the deal. A lot of people exploded when they heard this. They got their underwear all bunched up, and they were all upset because they want to blame Ozzy. Everyone wants to blame Ozzy. So people were like, well, you know, how could Ozzy say this? It's Ozzy Osbourne. If he wanted Bill involved, he would have been involved. Let me say this. I think it's way more complicated than that. And I think what's happening now with Ozzy is there's enough time that's passed since the Sabbath, The End tour. He is expressing some of his true feelings, and we've heard that say that, you know, him say that the tour wasn't for him as fun as it is to tour as a solo artist. We're now hearing him say that he wishes Bill was involved. So I believe Ozzy, and I hate it when everyone just, oh, well, it's all Ozzy's fault. How could he say that? It's Ozzy's fault that Bill wasn't involved. You got to remember this, guys. Way back in the 90s, when Black Sabbath had a singer by the name of Tony Martin that most people probably don't know, but they had a singer named Tony Martin for a while. A long time, actually. And they did, I think it was a South American tour, where it ended up being 3/4 of the original Sabbath. Bill Ward, Geezer Butler, Tony Iommi, and it was Tony Martin on vocals. And that was not too long before they started getting back together with Ozzy. It's pretty well documented that Tony Iommi didn't really dig Bill Ward's playing on that Tony Martin tour they did with him. And when they got initially back with Ozzy, they didn't involve Bill. He wasn't a part of the initial Sabbath reunions. It was Ozzy, Geezer, and Tony, and Mike, right, on drums from Faith No More. Mike Borden. So you have to remember that. And then Bill was eventually brought into the picture. A lot of people give Ozzy credit for that, for bringing Bill in, because Bill and Ozzy always had a strong friendship. If you remember, even Bill's solo record, Ozzy did some vocals on that. So I just find it fascinating that they always blame Ozzy. Heaven and Hell. When they first put Heaven and Hell together, Bill Ward was initially involved with Dio and Geezer and Tony. But no, then he got ousted out of that. So then, you know, this Sabbath The End thing happens. This, you know, where they toured a couple times. Actually, there was a tour before the End tour. And then they put the 13 album out. Then they did The End. Yeah, so you got to remember that there were 3 musicians involved in this, and not everything is always Ozzy's fault. And I'm gonna stand by that, because Ozzy, you know, a lot of times when you're on top, people always try to knock you down. I think Ozzy gets so much unfair criticism for anything that people don't like. Oh, it's Ozzy's fault. Oh, it's Sharon's fault. Everything's always their fault. But let's look at the other players involved and remember their relationship with Bill Ward. And, you know, I think I'd like to hear more from Ozzy on this story and the history of Bill Ward in general, from the late 90s through modern day. Like let's talk more about that, Ozzy. We want to hear more. All right? And we don't blame you.